was that?
I said long sleeves. You guys chilly?
It's cold in the buildings.
Oh yeah, it's like a meat locker in our office.
Jamie, you good to
All
go?
those big people, man, it's a lot of heat, you know what I mean?
All right, thank you for being here, everybody. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach Brennan, and then we'll take questions.
All right, good to see everybody. You're flexing on the San Antonio today, huh? Feeling it, it's playoff time. Okay, I like it, I like it. Red line, I like it. It's great to see everybody. It's been an awesome spring. We're really excited about it. Excited about where we're at and the work that we've done so far, and we know we've got a long way to go to get ready to actually have to play a football game. This weekend's going to be amazing. Everything. I think everyone's aware that like just spring games have become something different, right? This is not the. My dad used to tell a story back in the day when he was in college. They had the steak and hot dog spring game, and they divided up the team evenly. And the team that won got to eat steaks, and the team that lost ate hot dogs and beans. So I don't know, maybe that was NIL before NIL was a thing, but that was so. There's a little extra something on the spring game, but I think with the way the numbers are now and kind of the investment we have in the people on the field, it's something that we have to be smart about, and it's something that we have to. It's a little bit more of an NFL thought process than it is traditional historical college football. That being said, it's going to be an incredible day. We're going to practice. We're going to get after each other. We're going to play 11 on 11. There's going to be a lot of really good football played. The day is going to be an awesome day for the city of Tucson, an awesome day for our fans, for our alums. We've got 250 football alumni signed up for a gathering tonight. Today, I believe there's 50 of them playing golf here in Tucson, which is awesome. I just think that speaks to the unique brotherhood of Arizona football, what it's meant to people who were a part of it, who wore the colors over time. Really, really special. And then tomorrow, the day is packed with a lot of stuff that I think is fan-friendly and really kind of community outreach stuff that's going to be a lot of fun. There's a kids football camp. We have 250 kids register for that, which I think is going to be great. We have, when we get to the actual practice in the showcase, it's going to, fans are going to be able to be on the field, and they're going to be there. We're going to have the kid zone and the beer garden like we did last year. And we're going to have we're going to play some real football in between. And then the end of it's going to be a great concert by a great musician named Spawn Breezy that, I know that we are excited to host him and excited to see him perform. So I think it's going to be an awesome day for everybody that cares about Arizona football and everybody that is excited to see our team play a little bit, but also just have a great day here in Casino del Sol Stadium and get everybody back together and kind of kick off this time of year like, okay, now we're moving towards the season, which is really how I see this time of year. I think it's also another great opportunity for the fans to get an idea of what the team is going to look like on the field in terms of season tickets and showing up at Casino del Sol Stadium next year and what we've talked about over the years here. When I think about all the games that I watched that I was able to attend in McHale and seeing what that environment is for Arizona basketball, right? Seeing what that is for Tommy and those kids, and how do we duplicate something similar in Casino del Sol Stadium for our football program? All right, how do we make that? Everyone talks about how hard it is to play at Arizona or how hard it is to play, in Alchemy, but like, can we do that here? Can we set this thing on fire every Saturday evening and make it impossible for our opponents to play here? So I think people are going to get a glimpse of that tomorrow, and hopefully that gets people excited about buying tickets, excited about showing up for this football team, excited to show up for the players that continue to choose the University of Arizona versus taking maybe more money or a different opportunity in another program, most notably Noah Fafita. But even going back to a year ago, all those people that chose to stay. And I think that's something that is really, really special. And I think in an opportunity, it's the simplest way of buying season tickets to show that you appreciate and you respect the choice these young people are making as they continue to choose Tucson, they continue to choose the University of Arizona, and they continue to choose this football program. And so I think tomorrow's going to be a great day for everybody. I can't wait. I'm excited about it, as you guys can tell, just to see everybody here. And we've got a lot of people RSVP'd for the showcase, and I think you kind of have to RSVP, Ben, to get on the field because there's going to be a lot of people that are trying to get in that space, and I think it's a unique opportunity. So many people, or rarely do people get to be on the field and be that close to the players. There's also going to be an autograph component, so where fans are going to be able to do some of that with our players. So it's going to be a hell of a day, and I can't wait.
Thank you, Coach.
It was a big opening statement, man. Let's go. Let's go.
We'll start with Justin and then Michael.
What is your overall assessment of the defensive backs? And I know you guys didn't have everybody there, but just the group that was able to participate in the spring,
Yeah.
what do you think about them? And then also the guys that will be implemented, what do you think they're going to
Well, I think when you look at it, you know that you have a couple guys that have been or that are in recovery from postseason surgery stuff that are established good football players that will be coming back to us. So I think that's going to be exciting when we kind of get the full force of that group on the field, right? But what we saw from the guys that we added in the offseason, I'm encouraged. You know, when you think about the pieces that we put there, those guys have all played a lot of football, and I think that part's exciting. And then you have a young player like Matai, who's like talented, really talented, hasn't played a ton of football, but his talent shows up every practice, right? That part of it is fun. Zaire, who you see just at his length at corner, and you see him kind of growing fast and making plays, you know, under the tutelage of Coach Viney. And, you know, I think we saw the success that Coach Viney is able to have with our corners over the last few years and just how he's built them up. So I think, you know, with having a lot of faith in Brett Arce and Chip Viney, and they have both demonstrated that they are excellent at developing players at both the corner and the safety position, combined with the scheme that Danny's running, we're excited about it.
Michael,
Keatron Harris, Prince Williams, Kaisi Lafutaga got a lot of playing time during the spring. True freshman.
Let's go.
Offensive lineman.
We didn't recruit him to sit on the bench now. Come on, let's play.
What have been your impressions of them, and what are realistic expectations for them this year?
That's a good question. I would say my impression of them so far has been great. You know, I think it's hard as a freshman. You know, I don't know, 10 years ago, like those guys would have been going to the prom tomorrow night. You know what I mean? Like they would have been on a different timeline. But we've had the benefit of having them here. And I think when those players can enroll early, it's such an advantage because, first of all, they get acclimated socially and academically, which that's like a part of college that's like unique and different anyway. You know what I mean? And, you know, they know where their classes are. They know how to navigate campus. They know where to park, or they know, you know, all that stuff. But then football-wise, it's a huge advantage because they get an off-season with Coach Carroll and our incredible strength staff. And then they're also part of meetings and part of spring practice. And so they have such a jump on the kids that get here late. It's just that, you know, the kids that join you at the mid-year, those guys get 8 months of college football before the rest of the guys, or before you start practicing again in August, right? Where your incoming freshmen, I think we have 8 or 9 of them coming in the end of May, right? They'll get June and July, and then we're into camp. It's just not the same runway. But I think those guys have all done a great job. I think they're learning. I think they're making plays here and there. They're also making a ton of mistakes, which is great because that's how we learn. And so they're making progress. And every day you see them flash. I showed a clip of Keatron to our team yesterday morning, just showing a great example of red line. You know, on a play that was run, him breaking the stack, full speed of the ball is exciting. So I think they're all making progress.
Juan and Chris.
Overall, how would you assess the offensive line room, and where do you think they've progressed in the spring?
The offensive line is a really fun group. It's funny, you know, Coach Oglesby is not a small man, and it's very common to walk past his office and see 10 or 12 O-linemen crammed in there, just like literally like just a massive humanity, and they're just in there talking football or talking life. It's a really close group. I think it's fun to see, you know, because without Tristan being available, right, it's fun to see Lotto and Louie get those reps, right, because they're both young players still, especially through the lens of being offensive linemen. That's one of those positions that takes a lot of time, a lot of reps to master. And so it's great to see them get their reps. Deuce continues to be a really, really good player. I think we're going to love Zach Henning. I mean, he's mature. He's played in big-time games. He gets it. He's tough. He's very smart. I think that's going to be a real, you know, and then we have some depth there too. You know, Rhino has had a good spring, especially the last 2 weeks. And then there's more depth there than we've had in the past. And so it's just really important that we keep those guys healthy and that those guys continue to grow and emerge. And I think Josh is fantastic at that. And that's something that I just have a lot of faith in. I've seen him develop players over time. I saw the impact he had on Big Jonas Avenea, you know, like it's just, even though it was just 1 year. And so I know those kids are all benefiting from their process with Josh. And, you know, provided we keep that group healthy, we're gonna love that group. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Chris and then JC.
What have you made of the wide receivers that transferred in, and kind of how do you see them fitting in with the veterans, the returners that have come back and are setting the standard for that room?
Yeah, absolutely. That group's a lot of fun because there's a lot of intense competition there. I think the exciting thing about that is you feel like you can go 8 deep in that room, and everybody can play. And I think that's important. We want to play with tempo. We want to push the ball down the field. All those things, you need to have depth at that position. And those guys, you see, going through the spring, I think Trey Spivey's been just a consistent high performer, which is not surprising to anybody, but that's exciting for me. But there's incredible leadership coming from Chris Hunter. Gio Richardson continues to make plays in practice as a young player, but he plays with a ton of maturity and toughness. It's really, really exciting. And then the new guys that are starting to mix in, right? Like DJ, had a couple of great plays yesterday. So you see him starting to get more comfortable in the scheme. And I think that's one of those things it's all positions, especially that receiver position, because speed is such an important part of it. As they're learning the scheme, they just don't play fast, or they don't play as fast as they can. But once they start to settle in the scheme, then you start to see their talent show up because they know what they're doing and they're playing with confidence and they're playing fast. And so I think that's been fun to see. I think Rod is going to be a really great addition. He's fast, he's tough, he's played a lot of football, he gets it. That part is going to be a lot of fun. Then if we get Brandon Phelps back healthy again, we expect him to contribute in a big way. So there's a lot of good pieces in there that we're excited about. Isaiah Mizell has had a great spring. He's working through a little bit of a hamstring right now, but he's had a great spring up to that point. So again, a lot of young players, that we mentioned in that mix, but then you also have the maturity, the leadership, and the experience of, Chris Hunter and Spivey. So it's a really fun group to coach. It's a really fun, competitive group to watch.
Jason and Justin.
This is probably kind of a loaded question, but one of the hot topics of college athletics is the 5-for-5. Mm-hmm. Just your general thoughts on that and how it impact maybe your approach to things.
I don't think it would change my approach to things at all. I honestly, I've told you guys this before, this is a developmental program. And the idea for us is that we want to be able to recruit high-level, talented players that want to be at the University of Arizona, right, and help them grow and develop in their process over the years, because I think that's how we can make our best football teams, is by guys that have a 2, 3, 4, 5-year investment in the U of A and in this football program, right? I think the 5-year retention piece is something that is going to be the topic of conversation if this thing passes, which it sounds like it's going to. And so, how does that play out when you have a player who's, starts as a redshirt sophomore or starts it as a sophomore and he's, kicking a ton of butt, and then, all of a sudden he's a hot item on the free agent market of college football. I think that's going to be the bigger piece that we're going to have to figure out for our program.
Justin and then Michael.
So assuming all 3 of the defensive backs get drafted, it'll be the 3rd straight year that Arizona's had 3 or more draft picks, which has not been the case since 1998 through 2000.
Awesome.
Is that something that you guys lean into, and what do you think that says about just the program and where it's at right now?
Well, I think it says a lot. I think that it proves that Coach Fish and that staff recruited a bunch of good players, and I think the guys that are coaching them have done a good job helping them to continue on their developmental process. I think it speaks to that, right? But I think we absolutely lean into it. And when you look at it big picture wise, when we're recruiting kids, we have proof that you can play at the University of Arizona, have an incredible experience, and be an NFL player or an NFL draft pick, right? And which is so many of the young people that we talk to or that we're recruiting, that's the dream. They all have that dream, and they all think they're that. You know what I mean? You can't talk to a single high school player that we're recruiting or a single player on our team that doesn't think he's an NFL player. You know what I mean? And so how do we help those guys realize that dream?
Michael and then Juan.
You mentioned sort of taking more of an NFL-style approach to practice, even the spring game. You haven't been full pads. I don't think at any point this spring. We haven't seen live tackling drills. Danny was commenting on that yesterday, and he just talked about the investment, the monetary investment that you have in the roster. Do you think that's just how it's going to be moving forward, as long as things are kind of, similar to how they are now with NIL and revenue sharing and all that?
I do. And I think, why would we not learn from the people in the world that are the best at this in the National Football League? Why would we not follow their example now that we have this financial investment in these young people? You know what I mean? Now, that being said, these are 18 to 23-year-old young men, right? And it's not, these grown-ups that are playing in the National Football League, right? And so there's a certain level of professionalism and maturity and just accrued reps by those guys in the National Football League, where when you go and watch them practice, they are absolutely incredible at staying on their feet and taking care of each other, but still getting the necessary work done to be ready to play on game day or whatever. Not being in full pads. When we have shells on, we're in full pads, buddy. I'm just telling you. Like the pants, like have you ever seen a thigh pad? It's like a saltine cracker. You know what I mean? It's not like, it is not stopping a quad bruise. You know what I mean? So, so we feel like we're able to get the required physicality and we have had a great spring that way. We've gone after each other every single day. And I think the physicality part of it has been great. Whether or not we have thigh pads in and those little knee pads in, I don't know that really. The players don't think of it that way either, right? Like they know when we go 11 on 11, it's on. We go 9 on 7, it's on, right? And that is as physical of a drill as you can have. And so that's the way we approach like the idea of getting the required physicality. But whether we have game pants on, I think that's been a big thing in college football, right? I was like on the table, they started like fining or flagging everybody that wasn't wearing pants, right? They voted it down, thank God, right? Because it would have been just like on game day, do you want to be like, you're not wearing the right pants? It's like, no, we want to get ready. We need to get a damn first down. We don't have time to talk about the pants right now. You know what I mean? So I'm glad they didn't do it. But so we've been playing a ton of football, and that's been really good.
One and Damian.
Just given what you've seen from the spring, do you think there's any position group that you think maybe we can add some more depth from the portal or
No, we're full scholarship-wise. So, and I think the hard part about the portal is there's a finite number of spots available, but there's an infinite number of spots in the portal. So guys can kind of be stuck there. You know what I mean? Like, you got 105 guys on the roster. You got 85 guys on scholarship, or however you make your roster, right? And once the seats on that plane fill up, the plane takes off. You can't add more seats. You know what I mean? And so, like, I feel bad for the young men that have chosen to get in the portal and are kind of stuck there. But for this program right now, the beauty of a single portal is that we know who our team was, who they're going to be January 15th or it was 16th, I think. We had and then we started working with those guys, and we got to start to build our culture and start to build our program and start to get to know each other and start to build that chemistry that is so important, with the singular portal, which I think has been awesome.
Damian and Justin.
Between now and the beginning of fall camp, what would you like Spivey to work on specifically to elevate that next step?
Well, Spivey is one of my favorite things about Trey is he's an incredible practice player. Like, he really goes. He goes hard. And it doesn't matter if, he's feeling a little under the weather or whatever, like, he likes to compete. And that part of it is a lot of fun. I think as he continues to grow, I think, some of the space that he can continue to evolve into like a really high-level player is continuing to understand how defenses move, structure, right? Like, that part of it, I think, is something, that's what those next-level guys do, right? Those next-level guys know they're going to get a ball by what happens after the ball's snapped, right? And I think that's a space, and it's hard. It's hard because those guys are moving fast, right? But I think that's something that, like, every receiver that's wanting to take their game to the next level is able to assess that pre and post snap. And I think that's an area of growth Spivey can grow in.
Justin and then Chris.
Specifically at tackle, what's your assessment of those guys, and are you able to talk about the freshmen that you're going to be adding in Morales and Malachi?
Where do you want me to start with that? That's a two-questioner, bro. Come on, man.
Overall, just how do you feel about just the
We're going to outlaw double questions until the season, because that's when you guys really get going with the double questions. I'm just kidding, dude. I got you. So excited about Malachi and Morales. We think both those guys can get in the mix. They're both super tough. They're really physical. They're strong. They're mature players. So that part of it we're really excited about. We're excited to get them here. We're letting them, they're working through their track season, all that stuff. That's all good. They're doing normal high school stuff, and I love that. A couple minutes ago I spoke about the benefit of being here early. I think there's also a benefit to being a kid, man. I think there's a benefit to being a young man and going to the prom and playing basketball or baseball or track. Like that's high school too, and you don't get to do that the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So, but we're excited to get those guys here, and I think those guys are going to fit in that room great because they both are really tough and they both love football. And I think the O-line room is going to welcome them with open arms. And it's been fun to see, Louis is really coming along. He's a young player. He's going to be a redshirt freshman. He's a player that, since he's been here, he's really put on a lot of good weight. You kind of see that just like his, just like starts to grow into a man. He's just like kind of long and thin, similar to Lotto. When I first got here with Lotto, like Lotto was like long and thin. It's kind of how those tackles are, right? But then they start to train with Coach Carroll. Tara, our nutritionist, gets a hold of them, right? We started eating 10 steaks a day and going crazy on like the food and like the calories and putting on the good weight. And so it's great, it's a bummer we haven't had Tristan, during spring, but it's also been great for the development of those young tackles, right? And so that there's a side benefit to that.
Chris and then Michael.
Take 10 steaks over 10 hot dogs and beans.
Yeah, fair enough.
You stopped practice yesterday for a few minutes to go cheer on beach volleyball. Kind of heard earlier this week, Seth mentioned that Tommy has come recently and spoken to the team. Just kind of the relationship that football has with the rest of athletics and kind of why it's important to continue just having the cats supporting cats, if you will.
I think, first of all, like all the coaches of all the programs here, we know how hard they all work. We know how important what they're doing is with their athletes and their programs, and we want to support them. You know what I mean? And I think it was awesome. Tommy came out and spoke to our team on Tuesday, and it was great because he talked about a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, just the process and not getting caught up in the end result or the outcome. And he talked about a beginner's mind, right? Like last year doesn't matter, which are all these things that we've been saying with our players, but it's great for them to hear it from a great coach like Tommy, who just made this awesome run to the Final Four. So I think that part of it, everybody supporting each other. It was great to go out and support the beach volleyball team yesterday. It was in the middle of practice. The Big 12 championships are here. Actually, right now they're in the middle of the semifinals. So I went out there today to watch them win their match against South Carolina. And it was great, came down to overtime. This is an incredible win. It was awesome. So I was so fired up for them, and they were going crazy. And so it was just, to have our whole team out there adds a different dynamic to a beach volleyball contest. You know what I mean? I hope you guys can either see the video on Instagram or see the pictures. But I'm sure we were playing TCU. I'm sure that that was different than what they're used to, because you just had all these dudes because our practice field's right there. So we had everybody in shoulder pads, no pants, Michael, but shoulder pads and helmets, and everyone was screaming and cheering, and the U of A chants were loud and obnoxious. It was a lot of fun. It was cool.
Michael, Juan, and then Jason.
He's cutting y'all off, man. It's not me. He's cutting y'all off.
What are your thoughts on Dash Fafita as a football player?
I think Dash Fafita is a total badass, and I can't wait to see his path. He's every time he lines up, he does something really exciting. He's super tough, super smart, highly, highly football intelligent. And he shows up every practice. He makes a couple plays every single practice. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And does that surprise you? Just given the family, does that surprise you? No, of course it doesn't. Right? That family is just special that way. There's football players, man.
For someone who's his size to be playing that position.
Are we talking about Noah or Dash? Right? It doesn't matter. The game's the game. And you get them out there and they play, and they either can do it or they can't. Right? And so far, Dash has shown us that he's going to contribute.
Juan and then Jason.
Just what are your expectations for the tight end room? Do you think there's a leading voice in that room?
Oh, that is a good question. I think the biggest part of that room to me is going to be getting TP back, right? He's obviously had just the disappointing knee injury in the first play of the season last year. He's worked his tail off. He looks great running around. I know you guys have seen him out there running around when you come to practice. He's just he just brings such a maturity and a confidence to that position. But that room is a lot of fun because Cole's been a great addition. The transfers have been a lot of fun. Shane is going to be a good football player. He's a young player that's really talented. He's not afraid to contact that part of it. Henry, if we get Kellen Ford health, there's going to be that room is going to be a lot of fun. Now, there's a lot of work and development that needs to go into that room, right? And in terms of TP coming back to the team, that's going to be a decision made by medical staff, not by coaches, right? But I'm hoping because of when the injury happened, when the surgery happened, that one will be a little bit earlier than Stukes' was, because we had to kind of gradually bring him back into the fold. But Yeah, that's gonna be that group is gonna be a lot of fun, and those young players are gonna be really good, really good.
Jason and Justin.
Is there anybody we should be talking about more in your eyes that maybe, you know, we always talk about the major players and all that, but maybe someone that has had a really good camp or?
I think Wesley Yarborough's done some really good stuff, man. Young running back, you know, Corn was out for a little bit with an ankle sprain, and so Wes got to take a lot of reps, and he showed up. There's a lot of good stuff from him. I'm excited about that. Let me think about this. I think Malcolm Herzog is going to be a really good player. Like he's going to be a lot of fun. He really showed up in a meaningful way as we got going here. I mean, the one you should be talking about and really shouldn't stop talking about is just Noah Fafita and the legacy he's going to leave at the University of Arizona. Because that is, you know, I've said it time and time again, I believe it to be the best story in college football because he continues to choose Arizona. He continues to do the unselfish thing. He continues to do the right thing. He's just a really, really special young man. And like, I can't say enough about him. How he leads, how he prepares, how he practices, how competitive he is. You know, you should see it's hilarious because I stand behind Noah just to make sure that like if anyone's on the ground or any of that, I'm gonna blow the whistle and stop the play, right? And so I stand behind Noah, but like sometimes I blow the whistle and like you should see how upset he is because he doesn't get to like finish the play. And he'll look back and say, he did not get me, you know? And I'll be like, hey man, I don't know if he would have or not, but like I'm trying to keep him away from you. But he's just so competitive, he's so fun to coach.
We'll finish up with Justin.
Well, and speaking of Noah, last year he did the Manning Passing Academy. Between now and training camp, what does Noah's offseason look like?
Well, I would imagine he'll do that again, you know? That's probably a better question for him. But anytime we have anything required here, he's gonna be here. Like he's not gonna let down the team that way, right? That's who he is, right? Even last year, we had to kind of encourage him to go to the Manning Passing Academy. You know what I mean? Like he was excited and about it, but he didn't want to leave the team because he's so committed to the team. Does that make sense? And so, but he's obviously going to be busy, you know, with his preparation, you know, the extra that he puts in. You know, our edge as a football team is the extra, the in between, the unrequired. Like that's how like we have to find ways when the coaches aren't around, right? When those guys are continuing to find ways to push their game and to elevate their game. And no one's better at that than Noah Fafita.
The extra in between unrequired, where does that come from?
That comes from me.
Okay.
Yeah. I've taken other people's words, unrequired or extra or in between, but the extra has been something that's always been. I'm just like, how do you level up on somebody if you do the same thing that everybody does? Right? Everybody has the same amount of practice, the same amount of weight room time, the same amount of meeting time, right? Like how do you elevate a program? How do you elevate yourself if you do the same thing that everybody else does, right? The great ones find a way to do more. The great ones find the extra, you know, they find the in-between required stuff, right? They find stuff that's not required from the strength coach or the head coach or the position coach. They find that, and that's how they continue to elevate.
Thank you, everybody.
Bear down.